story about dealing with infertility. And I'm hoping this podcast that we will get the opportunity to break down some of those baby barriers and really start opening up the conversation around infertility and how to deal with it, and how to help our family and our friends deal with it as well, how to help us support us in this effort. So that is my goal with this podcast.
So, you threw some statistics out there, and even in our conversation, you made me aware of some numbers that I really was not aware of. I think,
Mhm.
just as I told you in our conversation, I think this is another one of those avenues, if you will, that is hidden, that most people don't
Yeah.
know that the severity of it, and
Mhm.
how that it is increasing, and how those numbers look, based on race, if you will, because you
Mhm.
told me some numbers the other day, and I was like, wow, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And can you share some of the information that statistical wise, that you found out through
Yeah.
your journey, of course?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, infertility, it's the science of infertility as I mean, it's been around for a very long time, but the truth about it is that, science is really catching up. As I had mentioned, 1 in 8 couples deal with infertility, and within the African American community, African American women are 2 times more likely to deal with infertility than any other cultural race, any other ethnicity. So it's really, really prevalent in the African American community and the minority community. Not really a whole lot of factors that deal with that. There's so many different things impact fertility, from weight to diet to, I mean, there's so many different things. On average, the percentage of conception is only about 25 to 30% per month. So, God is amazing, because it
Wow.
a whole lot of things have to go right in order for you to have a baby. In order
Wow.
for you to conceive. So, there's so much, there's so many things that have to happen. And when you start getting down to the gritty of the numbers, then you start thinking, well, man, I mean, it really is, kind of a miracle to conceive, because all of these things have to happen. But, what I've discovered, and I want to shout out Miss K. Clark for sharing this with me the other day, as I watched the episode on PBS where they were sharing more information about infertility. And they were saying that infertility has actually been on the rise over the last 40 years. The
Wow.
percentage has gone up every year over the last 30 to 40 years. So it really does make you kind of stand back and really look at what is impacting that, what is impacting. And as a country, we consume, we're consumers. My husband says this all the time: the United States, we're consumers, and we really have to look at, what we're really putting into our bodies, because that's ultimately what it comes down to. But my goal is to deal with the inner side of that, the deeper side, the emotional side, the mental aspect of it, and see if we can, as women, get around some of those barriers, because I mean, I know that we had talked about this, Victoria, in the African American community. I mean, we don't really talk about infertility.
No, we do not.
It's
No, we do
not
not.
something that you discuss often.
That's
It's
right.
just expected. You get married, you have a baby, and that's just all there is to that. And you don't really share, circumstances around why you can't make that happen on command. And that creates a certain shame and a certain guilt that a lot of women have attached to that. So hopefully we can start breaking some of that down.
So I want to get into a couple of things, and then I want to go back to your vast knowledge, and I'm going to use that phrase, you know, because this, listening to you and your journey in itself, was very impactful for me, and being able to even, I guess I can say, hear your heart and hear, your journey. But I want to get people to start understanding, first of all, you're going to be doing the podcast. The podcast, you told me, it is going to be a private podcasting. They would have to actually get into your Zoom room, and you're going to be able to give that information to those who want to
Mhm.
join, correct?
Yes, that is correct. The podcast will be available on all platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. It will be available. And then I will definitely probably go live on Facebook a couple of times a month as well.
Awesome. Awesome. So have you set a launch date?
I actually have, the podcast will launch, um, for you guys, the podcast has already launched.
Bam.
It has launched. The first episode is out there and it is available. I did a Mother's Day episode, and I wanted to do that just because I wanted to shine a light on that day, because that's a significant day in
Yes,
the
it is.
community of infertility, because a lot of women deal with a lot of different emotions on that day. And, you know, for those of you who don't know my story, as it pertains to infertility, you know, me and my husband have kind of been on this journey for about 6 years. You know, we've had 4 miscarriages and 2 ectopic pregnancies. One of recent was this year that resulted in, having to have a tube removed. So, it has been a journey, for us. And when it comes to Mother's Day, and those of you that know me know that I also lost a son in 2004 to SID. So when it comes to Mother's Day, it's just it can be a difficult day, and if you're on that journey of infertility, it's even more difficult because you're watching other women around you be mothers or become mothers, and you're dealing with the emotional and mental side of you not being able to share that, you not being able to experience that yet. So I wanted to do an episode around that. So that episode is out on all platforms. And I will have a new episode that will be available this Sunday as well. So my goal is that you will look for it every Sunday night at 8 p.m. on all platforms to be available to you to listen in, and see what we got going on.
Awesome. So you're going to do live, and but most of them will be recorded, but you'll also be doing some lives as well, correct?
Yeah, I will, just so that I can continue to engage the Fertile Ground community online on Facebook and get some of their stories. I want women to chime in because I want it to be interactive. I mean, I don't want to just be up there talking the whole time.
Right.
And as you'll see, on the first episode, I did have an amazing interview with Miss Siobhan Annette, who is also a life coach and speaker, and she has her own personal story dealing with infertility. So I'm hoping to have a lot of that, guest speakers and women who are willing to come on and share their stories.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So let's get into this a little bit. I want you to feel as comfortable with giving as much information as you want. And I know when we talked earlier, there's some things that that you shared. And I know there's some people out there. Hey, Lisa Washington. Hey, Regina, all of you guys out there that are tuning in, Mo, all you guys, thank you so much for joining us. Please share, care, and like this video so that other people can join in with us. I will tell you that we will replay it again on tomorrow, and we will also replay. It will be shared again on YouTube and Instagram. And Shemaine is actually the first, guest that will be on Instagram for Elevated Not Tolerated. So you'll be able to see all of that on all of the platforms. So get ready. So please go out there and share and care and like for my good friend. So I want you to talk about your journey, if you want to share, whatever you want to share tonight, so that people will, because sometimes I think people say, okay, well, you're doing a podcast and, you just gave some of your personal information, but it's, oh, okay, well, yeah, but, so what, that happened to you and blah, 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 blah. So what, why do you want to do a podcast about it? So I want you to share a little bit of your journey, if you don't mind, so that people will understand, because her heart, and I'm saying this to you guys out there, Shemaine, don't look at me. Her heart with this is absolutely freaking amazing. When I tell you just what she shared with me, had me, and I told her, there is nothing that Uncensored, that Victoria Elevates will not do to help push whatever she's doing with this, because her heart is speaking to the women on so many different levels. And I've got to say this to you live and in person right here. I congratulate you on your journey and being willing. Even you said just a few months ago, you just had another episode, and
Mhm.
you're still willing to come out of, if you will, the closet, if you will, and
Mhm.
share to impact other women. And I want you to know I appreciate you being that woman, that catalyst, as Miss K would call. I appreciate you taking the forefront and stepping out there and letting other women know that there's somebody out who really knows what you're talking about and where you're going with this. So
Mhm.
I appreciate you from the depths of my heart, and I also appreciate you letting me, do the introductory for you tonight. I just want you to share what you feel that you want to share with the people.
Well, I mean, there are so many women who are battling with infertility. It's almost hard to feel like your story is more significant than someone else's. But, if you've ever dealt with this, and if you're listening and if you're dealing with it now, you know that, your story it's personal to you. And it's yours, and it belongs to you, and it can consume your entire world, and I just want to say, you know first of all, a thanks to my husband, who has been, just a super support mate. He's been amazing, because it can be very easy for you to be caught up in this as a woman, and not really think about how it's impacting your significant other. So I just want to say thank you to him for even, for being a support team, and for giving me this idea. This It's been about 6 years, maybe a little bit longer, and you never think that something like this will happen to you. I mean, who is 18 going on 19. I've had 2 kids. You just don't think that something like this will happen to you. And as after we got married and we started, trying, and we knew that we wanted to expand a family, you go a little while, and then you say, okay, because ultimately my idea was, that I didn't want to have any more kids after I lost my son. I really, I don't know that I want to go back down that road again. But my husband, he doesn't have any biological children. And I wanted to be able to do that. Like every woman, you get married and you want to be able to give your husband a child.
Right.
And if when you can't do that when you want to, it's difficult. So, we had our journey. We did everything that we were supposed to do. We went and had all the tests done, and we spent a couple years in that lane trying to conceive, and ultimately it came down to unexplained infertility. It was our diagnosis, and it's not that we can't have kids. It's just that everything has to be right in order for us to have kids. And ultimately that has resulted in, several miscarriages. And then of course, recently this year, an ectopic pregnancy. And that, I've had 2 of those. The first time, I wasn't so far along that it really made a real significant impact, but this time I was. And anyone who knows anything about ectopic pregnancies knows that those can be life or death situations.
Yes.
And I just got to the point where it was either you get the surgery, you know or else. And so we had to do that, and it was really emotional for me, because you have a tube removed, and that's a part of who you are as a woman. In my mind, that's a part of your ability. God gave you that, so that you can reproduce and have children. That's what we're built for as women. We're complex machines, and we have a responsibility. Our inner work, everything about our bodies is built to have a child, to bear child, to bear children, and to do that. And so that was really, really emotional for me, to have to go through that. So, when the idea of the podcast, my husband said, I think that this would be good for your own healing. And I agreed,
Wow.
because there's so much around this that I hadn't really dealt with, as a woman, and in speaking to other women and being out on forums and just in my research and just coming across so many different couples who deal with this every day. I found that, although my situation is significant to me, there are so many, I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of women in our country and around the world who deal with the same thing every single day. And, I think it's important to be an advocate of having those conversations, because if you don't talk about it, it will just, it stays within you. And, that type of emotion, you've got to let it out. You've got to release that shame, and you've got to release that guilt, and you've got to say, okay, listen, it is what it is, but I'm believing God for the miracle of a child. I'm believing God to bless me with what I'm asking him for, and I'm coming to him in faith asking for that, and that's just what it comes down to. And ultimately I was nervous coming on this platform because not everybody in my circle knows what
Wow.
my situation is. Not everybody, even my family, some of my friends, they don't really know. My close friends, of course, know. But it'll probably be kind of a shock to those who don't really know me, to know that this is a battle that we've been dealing with. And I'm finally to the point where I'm okay. I'm okay with sharing, because I know that that's got to be a part of my ability to be able to heal from this and to help other women deal and heal from it as well. So that's just, that's where we are, and that's what we're going to, where we're going to stay.
Auntie is trying to join the podcast. She helped.
Okay. So that's it. That was my beautiful husband back there in the background.
And this is the thing. I was going to ask you, did he want to join us? Because you know what, you said something that, and I'm not gonna cry today, because you know the story with the cry, so I'm not gonna cry today, right?
You already know I will.
We ain't gonna go there. We ain't gonna go there. But I was gonna ask you if he would poke his head in and just, because you know what, you said this in our private conversation, and you've said it here several times tonight. The backbone of that man. That right there. Okay, y'all, can I clone him just because I want? but because you, and what I'm okay. All right, everybody else tune out except Shemaine. That's got that in itself about him speaks volume.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm sure there's other men like that too. I'm not saying he's the only one, but he's probably the 1 in 5 million. But for him to push you into doing the podcast, as well as the other business that you do in association with, that's got to be a part of his healing as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for him to be, because we all know, well, y'all that got husbands. If you got a good man, that godly man that the man found you, for him to take the forerunner and saying, look, this is what I think will help you heal. He's saying, this is what we're going to do to heal us together. And
right.
And when you said it, that he supports you and he's been the backbone behind this and he's pushed you into this, that says a lot in itself. That's got to be a big weight off your shoulders to know that you do have that real man that supports your endeavors, and he supports you emotionally, physically, and all of that. Because there's some men I can imagine that would have ran, that would have said, hey, wait, hold up now, let me hit the road and we'll talk later. But this man has stood by you through all of the things, and you've even said it. Some of your family didn't even know the journey that you've been on. So for him as a man to have to keep, if you will, that some of that secretive and just keep it, with you, that's got to say a lot for him. And my hat's off to him. I mean, you know what? He's the daddy of the year award in my book. I mean, that dude right there.
He is.
He is. He's saying, and his voice sounds too good. You got a good sound. Y'all step away. Me and her talk.
He is.
But that says a lot right there. And
He is.
I commend him as a mighty man. And I would love to have him on the Men of Value, because that says right there that he's a man of value.
He is.
I appreciate him being the backbone to you, because that
Yeah,
says
he
a lot.
is.
And
Yeah.
and I know it's got to be sometimes that he's had his emotion as well, but
Yeah.
he stood in the forefront and said, "This is my wife, and I've got
Yeah.
to take care of her." And
Yeah.
that is, girl. I tell you, clone that joke, because I'm or either find me a 63 version of him. One of the two,
He is amazing. I won't lie.
He is more than welcome if he wants to
he
come and
is.
join in with us. He's more than welcome to come in and be
And
with
I
us.
know he's watching. So
He can come on in. I promise I
I
won't
know.
bite him. I mean,
I know he is watching, and he's all of those things. He is, he's definitely, I mean, above all, I think his thing has always been, that he just wants me healthy. You know what I mean? Like he just wants me healthy, and we want to accomplish this, together, but we don't want to put our health at risk. We don't want to, we didn't want it to be difficult, but it's just like, I think what it was is that, me, and I know we had talked about this, is, I'm just kind of the one that's just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. Whatever we need to do, let's just do it. And I'll deal with whatever emotional aspect of it after the fact. And I think that just kind of kept us going. But, when it just got to the point, when we were hitting our last miscarriage, and I was just like, okay, I think I need a minute. I think I need to just step away, and then with the ectopic this year, it was just kind of out of the blue, and it kind of went so quickly that it happened so fast that we didn't really realize what was going on until we were in the thick of it.
wow.
So and I've never ever had any type of surgery outside of having a cesarean with my kids, so I was scared to death because I've never been put under to have a surgery. So it was just a lot. It's just been a lot for us, but he's been a total trooper. Like, he really has. He's been a total trooper, and I love him. And I'm
Too.
we in this together.
I love him too, girl. I'm in love with him too. This ain't, look,
Listen.
I'm in love with him too. You just tell him I'm in love with him. My 63-year-old partner's out there somewhere. It's gonna be just like him. Yes,
Oh,
yes,
63.
indeed. So let me ask you a question. I mean, because you've given some information that,
Mm,
I kind of want people to be aware of some things.
yeah.
And if you can't answer, that's fine. If you don't want to answer it, that's fine as well.
Mm,
But you've talked about the multiple ones that you've had, the
yeah.
issues that you've had. During that process, is there a time that the doctor says, no, you can't do this anymore? Has there been a time that they've told you that?
No.
Oh, well, because they would look, they would, ain't no need
No.
talking to you, right?
There is nothing, and that's kind of one of the things that I wanted to get into on my show, is
Okay.
talking about that, because, you know, when you first start dealing with infertility, it's I mean, it's uncharted territory, it really is. I mean, there's so much that you don't know. And when we first started dealing with it, I mean, it's new, so you really don't know what to ask. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like, you don't know what questions that you're supposed to have. You
Right.
can do your research, and then you talk to your doctor about it, and then you're talking to your OBGYN, and then your OBGYN is going to refer you to an endocrinologist who is a specialist,
Right.
and then you got to get the workup. But even then, the whole process is like, you're really totally reliant on a doctor to tell you what
Wow.
to do, which is why it's so frustrating when you get a diagnosis like ours of unexplained infertility, because it's like, okay, we have spent the last year going through all of this testing, and then you sit here and you tell me that you don't know why we can't get pregnant, or why we can't maintain a pregnant. You can't really
Right.
give us a definitive answer. So it's, I mean, it can really, really be a frustrating process, and you're going through, and we're like, okay, well, what do you need? What do we need to do? Do we, you have your intrauterine insemination, and then you have your in vitro insemination, and all of these medical procedures cost money.
Right.
I mean, a lot of this stuff is not covered by I am lucky enough to have a lot of this covered by my insurance. But for those women who are dealing with this and want to go the medical route, an IVF can cost you up to $25,000, and that doesn't include medication. You know what I mean? Intrauterine insemination can be anywhere from 2 to 3 thousand, and that doesn't include. And I've had 4 IUIs, or 5 or 6 IUIs. You know what I mean? So, it can get really expensive. And if you don't really have a doctor who is really able to tell you definitively what the next steps are, and I don't really feel like we had that. We had a couple of times where we were in and out, and it was just like some confusion, like, you don't really, and you can't really check them on it because you don't really know what to ask.
Right.
So you're totally reliant. So, for those women who are dealing with that, I would just say, do your research, and then, go to an endocrinologist, and ask all the questions that you ask, every question that you can possibly think of, because every doctor is going to tell you something different. Every doctor has a different belief system when it comes to infertility. Some doctors don't feel like progesterone is a real factor when it comes to infertility. But, the truth of the matter is that you need progesterone to maintain a healthy pregnancy. So it's just, there's a lot of ifs and buts, and we never had a doctor to say, no, we're not going to do that anymore. We always had the ones that said, yep, okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
Right.
And you don't really know if that's motivated by money or if that's motivated by a true want for you to be
Right.
successful. I would hope that it's, motivated by that, but you've got to know your personal limit too,
Right.
because
Exactly.
all of those procedures are extremely exhausting. You know what I mean? It can take a lot out of you. So,
Well, I have a challenge. Okay, so you know me, you know how I operate.
yep. Yep.
So, all of my 5,000 people out there that are watching, I don't care if you're watching from my page or you're watching from Shamaine's page or from someone who shared it to you or from you just happen to be scrolling through and you're on the public side and you see it. I have a challenge for doctors, those people that went to school,
Mm-hmm.
have degrees,
Mm-hmm.
that are full of wisdom and knowledge. I am challenging you, doctors,
Yeah.
that know your stuff. Okay, all y'all sanctified people, close your ears. That know your shit. Yeah, I said it. Call my pastor.
Uncensored conversation.
It's uncensored. Y'all know I'm gonna get dirty. I'm gonna get real with it. Y'all know I am. Those doctors out there that really know your junk. I want you to form a system where you can contact Shemaine
Come on now.
and be on her show to talk about different aspects of treatment that can help women.
Yeah.
I am challenging you. If you think that you are all of that in 5, 10, 15 bags of chips, and you out there making money off of insurances,
Mm.
and some of y'all taking money from people that, like she just said, you just want to see if it's, look, I want you to, I'm challenging you to contact her, be on her podcast, and to be able to help her help other women.
Mm.
She
Yeah.
ain't paid me to say it. She didn't know what I was going to say. This is unscripted. So I'm challenging medical professionals, doctors that are professionals in this area to contact her and be on her podcast to answer some of these questions that some women cannot afford to get answered.
Mm.
The numbers that she has quoted tonight, her journey alone says that there's not enough medical education out there in the community that's helping, and I'm getting emotional, that's not helping my women.
Mm-hmm.
And I need you to get off your rested tails, out of your offices, and off your do nothings, and reach out to this lady.
Mm,
Inbox
yeah.
her. Tell her you want to be on her program for free. Free.
Mm-hmm.
FREE.
Speak
Help
on it.
assist her to help other women,
Yeah.
because there's women that are hurting because they
Yeah.
don't know how to ask questions. They don't
Correct.
know where to go to get the right answers. They got doctors that are not helping them because either they don't have insurance or they can't afford what they need. And they need to know what other things are available to them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
she has the podcast to do it.
And not just on the medical side, I mean, also on the mental and emotional side. I mean, we've talked about this quite a bit, and I mean, I think one of the main objectives of Fertile Ground is to deal with that, is to deal with the mental and emotional side. I know I've said this several times as it pertains to infertility, but there is a certain amount of shame and guilt attached to that. Any woman who is dealing with this will be able to say to you that that is true, because you don't really take the time to deal with that emotional side of it, to deal with it. And if you're someone like me who is gone through repetitive miscarriage and you're dealing with ectopic pregnancy, it can be traumatic for you. And I think that it's important that we find ways as women to deal with that, to empower each other to deal with those emotions, and to empower our family and our friends to help us, to help support us through those times. Because if you're not in this world, you don't really know how to support someone. And I know we talked about this, Victoria, about how do you help your family members support you through this. It's not always a situation where you want to be coddled, or you want someone to say, oh, I'm sorry that you're dealing with that, I'm so sorry. It's not always that. Sometimes it's just you listening, sometimes it's just you being supportive and say, if there's something you need, I got you. Or if there's anything I can do, let me know. I think it's important for, family and friends to understand how to support you, through this. It's not always feeling sorry, but it's just, pray
Right.
with me, or just so that I know that you're there. And I think that's where the importance of the breaking down the barriers conversation is, because a lot of women are not comfortable sharing their stories with their family or friends. They'll share their stories with a stranger before they share it with their family or friends, out of fear of judgment. And
Talk about
that's,
that a little bit, Shemaine, because we did talk about that, and
yeah.
talk about that a little bit, because I think some people are you know, like you said, sometimes we want to say, "Oh, I love you, I want to help you," but sometimes you don't want to hear that. Sometimes you need to
Yeah.
hear something else. So talk a little bit about that, because I think it's important that people hear it straight from you, how sometimes that can be misconstrued. And it's not that you're
Mhm.
being cold and saying I don't want your help, but kind of lead us down that path a little bit.
I dealt with, I mean, I have been dealing with it, of sharing some of this story, with some of my family and friends, because, I was afraid of what they might say or think. Not that they would feel or say anything negative to me. It's just that, I don't know that I was comfortable with everybody knowing, and again, I think it comes back to our community where we're saying, I'm ashamed of people knowing that I can't, I haven't had a child yet, or I'm having difficulty having a child. I think it's a certain shame around that. And when it comes to the judgment piece, it's just like, you don't want people staring at you. You don't want people looking at you. You already feel isolated and ostracized because you're not a part of the group that can have children on command. So when you're saying to your friends and family, no, don't, like, just don't, it's not coming from a place of anger.
Right.
Until you get completely comfortable in your journey, it's just not something that you've got to be comfortable enough to share it. And you've got to know that you're not by yourself. You're not alone. There are lots of women who are dealing with it, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to feel like you need to hide it. It's a fact. It's happening to you, and you have to accept it so that you can relieve the anxiety and stress and shame off of yourself before you can feel comfortable with sharing with other people. So it's like a double-edged sword. Before I felt comfortable sharing, I didn't want anybody to really to know,
Right.
because I didn't want people fussing over me about it, and then I didn't want to be, I didn't want to have to think about, well, what are people going to think? What are people going to say? People are going to have this idea, oh, well, they ain't, I mean, no woman wants to have to deal with those emotions. And that can be, overwhelming, for you when you start thinking about that. And then, you realize, okay, well, everybody knows now, now you feel like it's all eyes on you,
Right.
instead of, looking at that for what it really should be, as a supportive moment. So, I would encourage, women to just, you've got to deal with that, and I hope that if I do get an opportunity to speak to some doctors, on the show, that they will talk more about the mental health piece, because that is always the piece that's left out.
That is true.
Nobody ever, no doctor ever, even in my entire experience with endocrinology over the last 10 years, never has one doctor spoken on the mental piece, on the mental health aspect of this. It's just always been about, well, this is what it takes, and this is what you got to do, and either you're willing to do it or you're not. Either you can afford it or you can't, and that's just it.
So
you
you,
know
you just opened up another challenge then. So you folks out there that's listening and you're a mental health counselors, coaches, doctors, therapists, and I know three, and I'm going to remind me tomorrow night to give those three names to you, because I'm going to give you three names that I know would be willing to work with you on your program for that purpose, to give that support to those women. I got three right now. I've had two on my show. If you are a mental health counselor, coach, therapist, not a coach, therapist, counselor, I need you. If you have experience with helping women deal with the emotions, and men deal with these emotions, I need you to contact her to be on her podcast, because she needs additional resources of people that she can refer people to let them
Mhm.
know there are mental health people out there, therapists, counselors that are willing to
Mhm.
help you as well. So I'm
Yeah.
challenging you guys out there. Don't be sitting
Come
on your
on.
couches. Y'all, some of y'all got couches that y'all tell people to lay on, and y'all laying on them. I need you to stop laying on them, and I need you to go over here to Further Ground on the podcast, reach out to Shemaine and tell her you are available as a mental health counselor or therapist, and you're willing to help her help somebody else. That's two
Yeah.
challenges. Yeah, they keep missing me. I'm gonna think of another one.
And they need it. They need it.
They need it.
Miss K brought up a good point. What do you say, when you're invited to events where there's pregnancy, there's, you know, again, back to Mother's Day, I mean, just recently I had a girlfriend of mine who was pregnant and just had a baby. And I'm not gonna lie that that's not difficult to deal
Right,
with.
right.
But what you have to say is, it takes away from my journey to despair about someone else's journey. I mean,
Right.
I'm happy, that she got pregnant. I'm happy that she had a beautiful baby. I'm happy for all of that, and that's just where it lands. You get invited to an event like that, a baby shower or a Mother's Day, get together. You've got to be comfortable in your own space enough to say, I know it hasn't happened for me yet, but I am still happy for you. To God be the glory that you have succeeded, and I know that my time will come,
Yeah.
and that's something that I really hope to address on the show, is how do we support those of us who are reaching the goal before we do, because that's a big part of that mental piece.
Mhm.
And ultimately, I don't think that the medical community addresses the mental side of it enough. I really don't. which is why you see so much, of that, postpartum, and, women, I mean, we can have it rough, man.
Mhm. That's true. That is
We
so
want
true.
a baby so bad, and then when we get a baby, then we're depressed after the baby.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of mental aspects, a lot of emotional aspects with pregnancy and motherhood that need to be dealt with, and that are not talked about enough in the infertility community. And we've got to be advocates. We've got to empower ourselves as women to have these conversations, because there are so many of us,
Yes.
that are coming up. Like, Miss K, shared that program with me, and I've been fortunate enough to learn about another program out there, which is called Infertility for Colored Girls.
Oh, wow.
And they speak on a lot of aspects about African American women in the infertility community. And they host a lot of events. They provide a lot of options. And you can, and to your point, Miss K, because she's chatting in, about surrogacy. Surrogacy is an option for you. There are lots of medical options for women who cannot conceive naturally on their own. You do have surrogacy. You can have a surrogate. That is probably going to be one of the most expensive ways to get a baby here,
Wow.
unfortunately. Next
Right.
to in vitro fertilization, which in vitro fertilization is that they take the eggs out, they fertilize the eggs for several days, and then they place them back in, and even that has a risk of failure. As high as the risk is for pregnancy, there is still a risk for failure with that. And then of course you have intrauterine insemination, which is basically where they take the sperm, they wash the sperm, to get it down to its most concentrated state, and then they inseminate you with that. They place it right in your uterus so that it can get where it needs to go. And there's only a 30% chance that will be successful. So there's just, there are a lot of different methods. I would encourage women to speak to your endocrinologist, talk to your doctor about what you can do, what best works for you, based upon what your testing is, what they find out, and just don't give up hope. There's always hope. There's always a way. We all would hope that God would just make it happen out the
Mhm.
blue, so
And,
you
and
don't have to come out of pocket.
and see, these are, and so, I don't want to give away a lot of other things that I know that you're going to be covering on the show, because I want people, y'all jokers, my eyes got big. I want you to support her program. So I don't want you to give away everything tonight, but these are some of the topics that she's talking about right now that she's going to be covering through her podcast.
Mm-hmm.
These are some of the things she's looked at, she's thought about some things that she's going to be bringing to the table, that she's going to open up the doors for women to be able to say, this is what I'm dealing with. Shemaine, help me get to that next level. And so I want you guys out there, whenever you see, because I'm going to be sharing it. You know me, girl, I share everything. I'm going to be sharing her every time I see. I don't have any choice. I gotta stay in touch with her anyway. So, I'm going to post every time she posts something. The, every time she has something, I'm going to say, hey, look, she's out there. Here's is something that you need to go listen to, because it's important that you're bringing up these topics that people need to be aware of. The women, like you said, they're dealing with the emotional side of dealing with the guilt, all of those, the guilt, the emotional side of not being able to and not knowing how to express those things. These are things that you're going to be covering on your podcast, that you're going to be opening doors for women to know that they do have a voice, they do have an opportunity, and there's somebody out there that's listening, and not only listening, but has gone through it and is going through it, and also has information that you're willing to share. And that's the importance of why I'm just excited that you're here tonight to talk about what the podcast is going to be about, what the podcast is about, and how people can reach out and start tapping into you and talking to you. You have done a lot of research on your own, and I know a lot of it is because of you going through it. But
Yeah.
but even with that, it didn't stop you from not doing further research. I mean,
Right.
I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm like, well, darn, some of you doctors might need to hire her. Okay. Third challenge: if you need a spokesperson.
Listen, you need an advocate, because I'm telling you,
I don't know what side. I don't know
you
what side
want
to
to
swing you
know.
off.
I talk about it on my show about, the pitfalls of getting on Google to research, but ultimately you do have to do your own homework. You really do, because you got to know where to start. When you step into this world, it can really have a way of consuming you if you don't really know where to start. And that's just every woman. You don't really know what's going on or why. And the honest truth is they don't know either. They can point a finger to some things and try to help you along the way, but ultimately you gotta kind of lean well, whether, like the Bible says, lean not to your own understanding. You got to ask God
That's
first
it.
and foremost to kind of give you some direction, give you some guidance and patience,
That's it.
because it takes so much patience. If I wasn't a patient person, anybody know me, know I'm patient. If you're not patient, you are going to struggle in this game, because every little every little possible victory is going to seem like the war is won, and it's not. I mean, you will have some disappointments, you will have some good days, some bad days. You will. That's a part of this road. You just have to be prepared for it, and you've got to pray from the start, and continue to pray,
That's
and
it.
continue to be confident in who you are as a woman. If there's no other message that I want to spread to my listeners, is that just because you cannot conceive on command does not make you any less of a woman than any other woman. You have to empower yourself.
That's it.
You are strong, be encouraged. This does not take away from who you are, even if you're just listening to the show to vent, to scream and shout about it and curse about it, or whatever you need to do on that day to get it out. That's what we're going to do, because sometimes I've had those days where I just cry all day.
Wow.
I cry all day, and then some days I'm happy, and some days I got to put on the armor of God and keep it moving, and lean on my support system. Lean on your support system, lean on your family, lean on your friends, which again is why I want to continue to break down those conversation barriers, because you are going to need them. You are going to need your circle. You're going to need your support system to get you through this. This is not something that you want to battle on your own. You want to have your support system, and friends and family be there. Just be there. There's nothing that you can do to change the circumstances. All you need to do is just show your support.
And that's a key point, is that I appreciate you going to tackle breaking down those barriers. I love the way you say that, breaking down those barriers of conversation, because it's important that people
Mhm.
realize that there is a dialogue
Yeah.
that is carried on any specifics like this, that people
Mhm.
need to be able to feel comfortable enough to be able to have those conversations. And if they don't
Yeah.
have somebody in their life like you that's going to break it down, that it's okay,
Yeah.
if they can talk about it, then they're going to carry that weight with them forever. And one thing I can say, I'm gonna say this overall, is that if you keep something long enough, you tend to start losing you start devaluing who you are as an individual, because you
Mhm.
don't know how to express it, because you
Right.
don't have somebody like you in their life that can talk them through. Okay, this is a conversation that you can have. you
Mhm.
you are you are a mighty woman. And see, that's what you're telling people. You're telling these women that, in spite of whatever, and you said, so getting pregnant on demand. I love the way you say that. It's just cute. I mean, y'all forgive me. See, I told I was gonna make a laugh through this too, y'all. So, but I mean, that's cute. How good, use that as your laugh. But because people, some people that's going through what you're going through, that's what they're how they're looking at it. That they can't do it on demand. versus
Right.
not understanding that there is a process that they may have to go
Right.
through, right? And so
Mhm.
that's a barrier of a conversation that you're going to be able to have on your podcast that's going to alleviate some of that pressure to some woman. Is going to know,
Yeah.
hey, yeah, it's okay if I can't have one today, but jack gammon, I'm going to have one next year. There's something that they need to be empowered with, and having
Mhm.
them have you as that sounding board, having you as that place of relief that they can go to and talk to is going to broaden the horizons for so many women. And again, I cannot say this enough. I'm challenging you all to support your program because it's important. It's important
Mhm.
that people understand these numbers that you're talking about, but it's also important that people understand how to break down the conversation so that your
Right.
circle will be supportive, so that
Right.
your family won't think you cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs just because you didn't talk about it. Because some people do.
Right.
They think you're crazy because you don't talk about it. And it's
Right.
crazy. You just don't want to talk about it.
Just
You
don't
know,
want to talk about
you got your own time frame. And
it.
people
Yeah.
have to understand that. So again, I want people to reach out to you. I want them to see whenever you see fertile ground being posted, tap into it. If it's not about you, excuse me, Shemaine. If it ain't about you, there is somebody out there that it is about.
That's very true. That's
You may
so
not be
true.
the person that needs the help, but if you see her posted, you just need to share it because somebody out there is looking for her.
Mhm.
See, that's why some of y'all falling short now. You don't want to talk about it, but somebody else may want to and need to. You don't
Mhm.
might not want to, you might not be, this might not be something that you're dealing with, but it could be somebody else out there that is dealing with it.
Yeah.
So if you see her posting something, because I'm going to post all day long, if you see it being posted, you need to refer them to her.
Mhm.
See, okay, okay, I'm gonna have my moment. Because where you're going with this in this nonprofit organization that you are rising and you're building.
Mm. Come on.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you letting me say that publicly because this program that you are building, this empire that you are building from the ground up, based on your own experience, it's going to need people that's going to understand that they need to sow into you. And sowing into you sometimes may not be money, even though we want it, but we also need bodies that need to know that they can get the help. And so
Yeah.
by you starting by you having this program, fertile ground is only a smidgen of what you're going to start doing with this.
Right.
Because the empire that you're going to grow with this is going to be so impactful that you're going to be needed internationally. So this is the time where people need to start referring people to you now, so that you
Mm.
can start putting some teams into place to help you. I want all of y'all to go to her podcast. Mahia, y'all almost said something, Charmaine. I'm just gonna tell y'all. I need y'all to go over there and support her because just listening to her tonight and in our private conversation that we had a couple of days ago, there's so many things that sparked off in our conversation, and I am honored that you allowed me to have you on the show
Oh,
tonight
my
to talk so
blessing.
freely about it and to be able to let people know you really are. She's a real person, y'all. I know she look like a Barbie doll. I know she do. She look like a black Barbie. I know she do. She cute and all that. But she is a real person. She is Miss Fertile Ground, my friend.
Trying to be.
Miss Miss Shemaine Pickens is Miss
Now
Fertile
go
Ground.
out there, join the community, join the Fertile Ground community, invite
Yes,
others to join the community,
please do.
on Facebook, on Instagram. The whole purpose of that community is for women to go out and share.
Yes,
It can be a venting ground, a sanctuary, whatever you need it to be. It's not for me. It's for all of you.
that's
And if
it.
you know anyone who is dealing with this, share it with them, because I guarantee you they're looking for a place to go. I
Yes.
guarantee you.
So I want to sum up tonight. I don't want you to give any more. I don't want you to give any more nuggets tonight because people will take everything. They won't give you a nickel. But anywho, that's another story. Um, yeah, that's another story. I'm sorry. I had a little frog in my throat right there. Had a little frog in my throat. So I also want you to tell the people a little bit about your other program that you have, your subscription program, because that is also a part of Fertile Ground. And so I want people to know about that as well. And
Mhm.
then we're gonna close down for tonight because she's gonna come back in a few months because I know in 6 months, probably 6 months, I ain't gonna be able to get in touch with the child. I tell you, flat out somewhere. I want all of you women organizations. Okay, challenge number 3. Women organizations out there. Women organizations and other podcasters, other people that have shows. I want you to reach out to my good friend here. I want you to have her on your shows. I want you to have her at your events. I want you to be able to allow her to have a platform where she can talk about Fertile Ground more and tell more people about it. There's 1,079,000,000.
Mm.
I don't even know if that's a number. I just made it up. I don't know. But I know there's a large number of women organizations out there.
Mhm.
Reach out to her. Let her come and talk to your people. Those other people, my fellow colleagues that are in the social media podcasting and have your own talk shows, reach out to her to have her come on your show and so she can talk to other people. Because I'm not the only person that wants to hear this. I'm not the only person that has other people that I can reach out to. But you got some people out there in your places too, and I want you to reach out to her. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Now, I'm just saying, and, and some of y'all mojos know. Mo, I ain't talking about your mojo. Some of you other mojokers out there, mojokies, that's what I'm calling mojokies. Mojokies out there, y'all know I'm gonna be calling some of y'all after the show. Anywho, because I want her to get going.
I sure will.
So tell the people a little bit, I mean, about your other program that's a part of Fertile Ground, and so how they can know about that as well. Because I thought that was unique how you started the other program and then you connected in with the Fertile Ground with that as well. So tell them a little bit about that.
Right. So the umbrella corporation is it really started with my subscription baby box company. Me and my husband run it. It's called Sweet Pea Chic Baby Box Co. And what it is, it's a subscription baby box that you can order and get every month, almost kind of like a gift. You can order, 1 to 9 months, and it will come to with 7 to 10 baby items in the box every month. It's themed. So we try to make it really sweet, try to make it really nice. We started it, it's been almost 2 years ago now. So that was, ultimately that idea started from, just wanting to, have a baby business, something that would help encourage, encourage me. And so, yeah, and the name of that really comes from my daughter, because when my daughter was a baby, her name was, everybody called her Sweet Pea.
Oh,
So that's where the name comes from. So, it's just, it was really meant to be a little something for me to be able to give to women who are pregnant or who are trying to conceive. The other half of Sweet Pea Chic is fertility based. It's about supporting women who are dealing with infertility and trying to conceive. So we do offer 3 different boxes. So that's kind of the umbrella where it kind of came from. And my goal with all of it was just to create a community around infertility where women could support each other, and when you get to the stage of pregnancy and motherhood, you've got a little gift at the end of the road that you can get, but up until that point, it's a resource community for you to get facts, get information, get a newsletter where I'm speaking to women gynecologists, around the country who are giving you information that is vital, to getting pregnant. And staying pregnant. So it's really about the community. So, you can definitely go out to sweetpeachic.com, and it's sweet PEA chic.com, CHIC. And you can visit our communities on Facebook. The Sweet Pea Chic community is there. The Fertile Ground community, I'm hoping to grow more. And then of course we're on Instagram as well, Sweet Pea Chic or Fertile Ground podcast. So I hope all of you will go out and join us and share.
I'm going to get you to put all of your information into the Facebook comment section
Yes.
for me because she's been in my classes. She's come to visit.
I
We've
sure
been in
will.
certain. I want to say we've been in certain circles. She knows sometimes my brain stops like right about there. So I want to get you to put that information because I want to make sure I spell it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
to some of y'all critics out there. I want to make sure it's spelled correctly and that
Mhm.
they can reach you. But there's the 3 challenges out there. So we got a 4th challenge. I want you to make sure that if you know somebody who is pregnant and you want to do something nice, she's got the subscription program. She says she's got what you got 3 different levels.
Yeah, but the main level that you'll probably want is the bigger box, which is the Queen Mommy. And it comes with 7 to 10 items, and you can get it a la carte or you can purchase it by the month, monthly. So
So there you go. I told y'all I was gonna make challenges. I'm so good. I'm so good at this. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. But I am good. Wait a minute, I am good
you
at
are.
this. Girl, you know how we
Hello.
do. Well, you know how we do.
Hello.
So you know what? I appreciate you so much. I know you've had a very long day. I still can't believe you got almost a 19-year-old. It just floors me every time you say it. But because you look
I
much
do.
younger than 18, 19 yourself. But,
Mm.
but
Come
I'm so
on.
glad. Girl, you know how you do, honey. Just girl.
Come
Shut
on.
your
Here for
shut
that.
your mouth, sweet pea. To tell your daughter I called you sweet pea, see?
Right.
But
Her
thank you.
name.
I want you just to close us out. Tell the people, if you could just tell a woman out there right now who's watching, a woman who's watching right now, tell her, give her something to think about tonight that she may not have thought about prior to seeing you tonight.
Um, you know, what I say is, and how I close my first show and probably how I close my last show or every show is, if you can do a little, you can do a little more. I mean, don't stop short. Be encouraged. It's not over until it's over. And until you get a no, the answer is always yes. So just keep pushing, and if at any point in time you need somewhere or to go or someplace to go, feel free to reach out to our community. I will always make myself available as much as I possibly can, but ultimately, if you can do a little, you can do a little more. So just keep on going, keep on praying, keep being faithful, and you're gonna get there. You'll make it.
Awesome. Well, y'all, I tell you, it's been another hot fired, uncensored conversation with Elevated Not Tolerated. And I must say to my
Yay.
guests again, I am so proud of you.
Thank
And I don't know
you.
why Miss K went. Somebody get Miss K. Mojo, get your mama. Tell her I am so get your mama, Mojo. Get your mama. Tell her get back on here because I am so honored that through her I was able to meet you and Mo and the Sharita. Y'all singing queens, and now I'm able to hear more about your program, and I am so honored that I had that connection through her to know you phenomenal ladies and the things that I'm not gonna do it. The things that's getting ready to happen in your lives. I am super excited about that. And in this program alone is just it's overwhelming. It is just I feel like a big mama
It's
bird.
been a
I don't know.
pleasure.
But I
It's
really
been our pleasure.
appreciate you coming on the
Thank
show
you,
tonight.
Monica.
And I will be bringing you back. We're gonna have you come back in a few. I want to give you. I want to get some time for people to start getting used to you being out there. And but I'm gonna bring you back for
Mm-hmm.
another show. I want you to come back, and so they can be able to hear more and see where you've gone from where you've been here on the show. I just think it's just gonna be phenomenal to watch the different how you're gonna maneuver and go into your next platform and of course, like I said, the nonprofit, all of that, how all this going to rise up for you. And anything that Victoria Elevates or Uncensored can do, we're here to support you
Yes, ma'am.
199%. So, girl, oh, girl, you make it go.
Thank
Don't
you.
cry. I ain't crying tonight. I ain't crying. I ain't crying with you. I ain't crying with you. So,
Thank you
tonight,
so much.
girl, you are more than welcome. To all of you that have watched out there tonight, please make sure you reach out to my good friend. Continue to support her. Continue to give her a big shout out and share her information to Coach K Clark, who is the phenomenal young lady who has helped me to help meet this young lady. She's gonna be having some voting done tomorrow. So we like to support her as well, because
Mhm.
Coach K has an article out there that's being on a what do you call it? Oh, help me, Shemaine. What is it called? It's a blogging contest, and we
Yes.
know she's already won, but we want you to vote anyway. And
Yeah.
we just gonna say it like it. Mo, tell your mom I said get back on here because I need her to shine her face, but it's okay. But anywho, we want to thank her, and we want to thank all of you that support Uncensored Conversation as well as Victoria Elevates. Keep on doing what you do and always remain. Shemaine, you want to help me close out? Do you know how I close out? You know how I do my little thingy?
I don't. Teaching moment for me, learning moment for me.
Oh, okay. So, guys, we always want you to remain going to some fertile ground, but we also want you to always remain elevated
Elevated,
and not tolerated.
not tolerated. Come
Girl, you know how we do it. And we'll see you next time right here. Shaman, you stay with me just for a little bit longer. I'm gonna get everybody else off. All right,
on.
guys, we'll see you in the
Thank you
morning.
guys.
You may or may not see me tomorrow. However, you will see the replay of tonight's live broadcast with my good friend. So we'll see you in the morning. We're gonna give it a few seconds and let everybody get off. Is Mo still in there? It says she's at. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna stop the recording too. I can stop that.